in its strict definition of innovation is coming with something new. Um, some people call innovation extension of products or a product line, but basically that's not what I consider true innovation. True innovation is coming with some disruption of what is actually happening in the industry.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Pet Food Science Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Julia Pezzali, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Juan Gomez-Basauri about the importance of innovation in the pet food industry and how we may tie nutrition and microbiome to support that. Welcome, Dr. Gomez, to our podcast.
Thank you very much, Julia. It's really great to be here, and thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it.
No problem. Very excited to talk with you about innovation. We know is what drives the pet food industry, and talk a little bit about microbiome too. But before we start talking about that, would you tell our audience about your background and where you end up in your current position today?
Yeah, well, I've been in the industry for several years. You can tell by the color of my hair now. When I started, it was totally black. Now there is kind of a grayish, but I think it's changing. So it's probably about probably going to be close to 30 years if you include, all the graduate schools and things. So I started by having a degree in engineering. I'm originally from Lima, Peru. Then I did a master's degree in food science and nutrition in England, this university. Came back home to South America, to Peru, work a little bit, and then decided to pursue further studies, graduate studies. So I got a PhD in food science, nutrition, biochemistry. And then I joined Ralston Purina, and then I was stationed in South America for 4 or 5 years, and managing the R&D business there for one of the facilities. And then I've actually started working for Alltech, which is probably the most tenure that I have. I've worked for Alltech for over 27, 28 years, and and it's having different roles throughout my professional career. From technical support to product development, R&D. Business development. So it's been quite an exciting career. And then for the past year and a half, I decided to step out of my comfort zone, as they say, and looking for new challenges, new things to keep the blood flowing, right? Because if there is no passion, there's no fun in the things you do, you kind of stay in the same. And for me, it was just a time of change. And I opened my own consulting business, and it's going well. Have several customers that I work with, and both in the domestic and at the international level. So this is quite exciting. It's basically a new thing in my professional career.
Kemin Nutrissurance is compelled to provide safe and delicious ingredients to improve our pets' food so they can have the best quality of life. Every day, they deliver specialized expertise, innovative products, and unrivaled support through the pet food and rendering value chain. From oxidation control and food safety to palatability and nutrition, all the way through a suite of tailored services that support you from start to finish, we ensure you're getting the most from Kemin ingredients. Kemin is compelled by curiosity to ensure pets around the world are living happy and healthy lives.
That's awesome, and I bet it's also very rewarding for you to see the industry changing over the years, meeting so many people, and now have the opportunity to work with different people having different impacts, not only in North America, but also outside here. So I bet that's...
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of changes and met different people, pretty much in all the different regions of the world. And I've seen also young students that I met when they were doing their graduate research and now have some very strong positions in academia. Like I think I'm looking at one of them, and then some other friends that are doing some great have some great positions, leadership positions in several aspects of the industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And because of your tremendous experience. I want to talk a little bit about innovation, and I'll start with a very simple question that's probably very complex. But what is innovation for you, or broadly, more focused on the industry, and why do you think that's so important for us?
Yeah, I don't think there is a simple question, but there's always good questions, and the question of innovation always comes to play. And in its strict definition of innovation is coming with something new. Um, some people call innovation extension of products or a product line, but basically that's not what I consider true innovation. True innovation is coming with some disruption of what is actually happening in the industry. For instance, if we're talking about in the topic of pet food industry, traditionally it has been kibble and wet foods, dry foods and wet foods. But then even kibble itself has also transformed because it from being just feeding, the dogs and the cat is not anymore because the industry in the past, I would say 20 years has evolved. And there's a lot of drivers in this, which is, the humanization, the premiumization, which most of the audience probably are familiar with. But that is what drives the innovation. Okay, how are we going to come with something new that is going to be exciting, not only from the terms of nutrition, but also from the terms of providing health and well-being to our companion animals.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, and about what is true innovation. And we say sometimes academia challenging the status quo or those traditional concepts that we always have, and then we claim that they're still true. But also, how can we challenge those and then come up with new hypotheses and ideas on how to go from there?
Right, and the interesting thing is some of the things that sometimes we are not able to appreciate what is happening in the industry, and we sometimes say, oh, that's not gonna fly, that's not gonna stay. But these are the moments of disruption that I call something totally new. And what benefits in this case is those people that are early in the adoption of either new technologies, new processes, new ingredients. And typically what you see is what I've always defined what is called like an S as in Sam, the S curve. At the beginning, you see, very, very slow adaptation, and suddenly you see quite a jump. And you see this in every industry, and you see it also in the sense that once you get to the top, then you actually come to a plateau, and you come to a plateau because in that process other people have started to follow those companies or technologies that were innovative, and then that actually pushes that curve to a plateau, and then you will see another growth until something new comes. So what I always share with my customers is you need to continuously be innovating, because if you're not continuously being innovative, somebody else is going to be doing that and taking a piece of their market share.
Yeah. And how do you recommend people to foster an environment that foster innovative ideas? How people just reading other people, other topics, other areas, going to different. How do you foster even in yourself an environment that helps you be creative and have different ideas?
And that's a very good question, Julia, because uh, and I think this applies to every area, not only industry, but also applies to academia, is getting out of your comfort zone and being in tune is what is happening in other areas. If I look at from the point of view of a corporate organization, R&D is focused on R&D, R&D, R&D. Sales is focused on sales, sales, sales. Marketing focused on marketing. But there has to be a connection in all these areas. the R&D folks may have a great idea. They are doing great research, but they can spend 5, 10, 20 years, and if it doesn't get to the market, it's not going to be successful. The other way around, a product may have some appealing in the industry, but if it doesn't have the substantiation and the backup of the research aspect, it's not going to be successful. So there has to be a continuous communication. And also being out of the area, because we need to be looking on what's happening in other industries, in other segments. So not only focusing on what's happening in the pet food industry, but what is happening on the human side, what is happening on the information side, what is happening on the IT side, what is happening on the agricultural side, because all these things are interconnected. I mean, we are not islands, so we need to continuously be communicating and finding new things which may have application onto what we're doing, and that's what makes a difference, Julia. Just one of the things that is kind of exciting nowadays is artificial intelligence. And we can spend another whole conversation in this area, but there is folks that are just kind of waiting to see what's going to be happening with AI, how it's going to be utilized, where there's other folks that are actually starting to do things with that, and that's going to be making the difference. So to answer your question, I mean, I think kind of been a little bit long and winded in this, but it's talking with everybody, visiting with everybody, exchanging ideas, and not only within your circle of the academia, your circle of your company, but also looking with other areas. So using the network that people have in other areas, because most of ideas will come from outside right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I always say, tell my students they need to go to seminars from other departments, other people that I never heard, because new ideas, they come from reading different things from here, from different people. It is not just a click in your head. It's about the experience that you put yourself into, and then what you learn from different areas, and then you think about applying and modifying to your own. So I think that's very, very important. I think personally for me, I learn more by going to conferences that are not even related to our own area, and by making mistakes. I think mistakes are also a very good way to innovate, and then to guide you through to different pathways that you never thought, because when you have a hypothesis and then you fail on that, then you kind of open the door for open a new can of worms, and that is very.
And that's true, because one of the things, and a word comes to mind, is curiosity. When people are curious about something, you start digging and finding out more information. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of science, in the sense, you start digging and you find something, and then you continue digging and digging, and then you just can get involved on that. So it's that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think companies, I know some may do. They need to have creative time, 2 hours a week or even more. The employees just think and learn something that they want, that
Yeah.
is not even related, because then they can somehow they're so passionate about it, they're going to spend time, and then they may think about applying that to what they currently do. But
Yeah.
having time to think is a very important part of being creative. You can block time in your calendar for that, to just think and read something totally unrelated to what you do. But
Yeah. No, the creativity aspect is very, very important. You mentioned telling your students to go some seminars, and when I was in grad school, we have what is called like the Tuesday seminars, or the student seminar. But there were professors and people from industry coming and talking about different things, and then you're sitting back there, saying, "Oh, how am I going to be using this?" But believe it or not, some of those things that you heard, definitely everything that you learn has application at certain point in time.
yeah, no, for sure. And I think one of the biggest over the years that people have been talking a lot about in the industry is like microbiome, right, and gut health.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to share a little bit about nutrition and microbiome, but a little bit beyond gut health. How can you think about microbiome on the sense of maybe health and longevity a little bit beyond of what we usually look at?
Yeah, this is an area which is I'm very passionate about. Both in the human and well, on the human side, the companion animal side, and even the livestock side, gut health has always been kind of the priority thing for other things related to health and well-being. But in the past, I would say 10, maybe even 15 years, with advances in technology and even with the development of the Human Genome Project and all those things that are coming to place, microbiome has become from being a niche area to becoming, I would call it more of a mainstream area of research. Now, what happens is how you convey what microbiome is. And one of the things that I have observed throughout these past 6-7 years that I've been involved with microbiome is people tend to use interchangeably the words microbiome and microbiota. Let's talk about microbiome, the microbiome, but then always refers to microbiota. And these are two different things because the microbiome encompasses more than what the microbiota is. And what I usually, when I talk to customers or when I talk to friends or colleagues or even in some presentations that I have made, I use a very simple example of what the microbiome is. And you're from Brazil and you're familiar with soccer or football as it's called. And the microbiome is a whole system, right? And then I use the whole system is the football stadium, and in the stadium you have the players, you have the referees, and you have the fans, the supporters. And so what I say is the microbiome is a whole stadium which encompasses the microbiota, and the microbiota are the different people inside, and then all those different people have some special roles. The fans are cheering, you have the workers, you have the security, which have different roles. And those are the folks, what we call the microbiota. And then how you balance that is, either by cheering them, in this sense, will providing them, good support and things which will enhance one group of bacteria versus another. So that's how I refer to the microbiome. Now, with advances in gene sequencing and things, something that it took, like a week or 10 or 20 days to determine what kind of bacteria we have. Now we are able to determine those in less than a couple of days. And and still we're learning more about some of the beneficial aspects of a good functioning microbiome. In the sense is what kind of bacteria is responsible for producing certain metabolites, because that's what the bacteria does. The bacteria produces metabolites, which could range from the classic short chain fatty acids to phenolic compounds to vitamins, amino acids, etc. The focus has been in the area of short chain fatty acids because that's kind of an immediate aspect that we can measure. But there are a few other things too that we are just beginning to learn what other impact has. And when you begin to analyze some of these things and start digging deeper, the microbiome in the gut plays a very important role with a number of different conditions. We could also extend to, the oral microbiome, the skin microbiome, and etc. But I think what we're learning from the gut microbiome is going to have a tremendous impact in all other areas. And one of the things that I see has tremendous application right now is not only in the aspects of because they're talking about the brain, the axis gut brain, the axis gut kidney, gut liver, gut skin. but also in the area of longevity. And that's something that we're going to be seeing probably in the next 5 years, having a major impact.
Yeah, no, definitely is a very fascinating area that it can have a huge impact on the host itself and all those health outcomes that we as nutritionists we always look for when you formulate. But now that the industry is aware and became also claims that the pet owners they want to see, they want to promote healthy aging, longevity. So I think now the industry is more maybe invested on the technologies or initiatives that can support those claims that the owners want to see because that you know the humanization of pets and all that how that changed our how we interact with dogs and cats really had an impact on the innovation that we're going to see in the future. And I think longevity and healthy aging are going to be very very important ones in the next 5-10 years and even more. So
And I think we are at a time that there is going to be disruption in the industry because we're not only looking at the aspects of longevity from the nutritional side, the natural side, as people would say, but there's also the pharmaceutical industry too is
yeah.
heavily invested in getting some of these compounds out there to promote healthy well-being. Um, and there are some other areas that we can discuss later on, but it, again, could be a topic for some other time. It is okay if we are able to extend the longevity and what I'm saying is a healthy longevity. Let's say a folk that is a centenarian, 100 or 120 years old, but has its own capabilities. So imagine a world that is 25%, 30% of centenarians that are still pretty active. So now the question comes, how are we going to be feeding all these folks? And then imagine that we have dogs also that are going to be being centenarians in their own sense. So it opens another realm of discussion. But if we focus only if we can actually stand the healthy living, I think we are kind of at the cusp of making some breakthroughs in that area.
Yeah, and people always have the idea that more is better, but not necessarily. Like if you live longer doesn't mean you're living better. So I think the healthy aging is a good aspect as well. Not only that's I think why they tie together. So why we are targeting is a long lifespan or is a healthy, you know.
Right, right.
We can talk about 30 and other minutes in other podcasts about this because it's a very, very interesting topic. And I'm also excited to see the innovations and disruptions that are going to come in our industry related to healthy aging and longevity.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too, and we're going to be, I think we're seeing some of this already in not in the pet food industry, but more in terms of the pharmaceutical and some human side business as well. But is to tie the microbiome in terms of its impact on the mitochondria, because aging has to do with cellular aging. And we know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And there is evidence and research that indicates or suggests that when the mitochondria begins to lose its capacity or begins to denature, then the cell begins to break down, and that's when senescence and aging takes place, and all the other ailments that are related to the aging process. Now, if we are able to maintain a good mitochondria, then we should be able, theoretically, to extend a healthy lifespan. And there is actually information there that the mitochondria can regenerate itself, and there's different aspects, and the microbiome also plays a particular role in that, again, by producing certain metabolites that are going to be able that the mitochondria continues to work properly. And if by any chance there is some deterioration, it's able to regenerate itself.
That's very cool. I was looking the other day about the naked mole rat. It's like an animal that is resistant to cancer and to many other conditions. So it's a very good model for health and longevity. One of the reasons behind is they have a different mitochondrial metabolism. So I never have seen any microbiota or microbiome from naked rat mole, but it would be interesting to tie that as well if there is anything related to their
Yeah, and that's the exciting part now, because how do we make the leap from some of these studies that are happening in rats or in mice to dogs, cats, and then humans? No, but there is also the hypothesis out there, and there are some studies that suggest that there is a case that that the and I think they refer to epigenetic programming.
Yeah.
And you probably heard about some of the theories of aging. But when okay, how it is. So you have the cell, and the cell is basically has a program, kind of like a computer and a software. So like the cell is a computer, and whatever is happening inside the cell is a software. So if the software gets all whacked out of place, and you have to reboot your computer, get an antivirus or something, get rid of everything that is fine, and reboot. And apparently, some research would indicate that's the case, so that there is a rebooting of the whole system. But in my opinion, that has to do again with the capacity of the mitochondria to regenerate itself. And in the popular press and in some of the stream channels, there's people talking about longevity and things, and they're talking about like the extreme diets, shock, swimming in the North Pole, very strong extreme temperatures, and these all have to a degree a foundation, because all these things actually benefit the mitochondria. Now, the question is how you put all these things together, and how you put all that into something that is going to be beneficial through a diet, either for people or for companion animals.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting. And there's quite a few research papers now they're doing humans to see all the different interventions, and then they all kind of tie together at the end of the day to the same kind of different ways, but the end goal is kind of similar. And then, yeah, it's very related to mitochondria.
It's time for our famous three. Benefits consumers want, partnerships you need. Schooler is your all-in-one partner for an innovative pet food supply. With an expansive portfolio and global access, we can source and deliver in-demand ingredients year-round. Schooler provides access to ingredients that are animal and marine ingredients, nutrient-rich, clean label, plant-based, freeze-dried, sustainable, MSC and Marin Trust certified, and more. That means you can offer on-trend products consumers want without disrupting production. Learn about the benefits of working with Schooler. Visit schooler.com/pet. That's SCOULAR.com/pet.
So thank you very much, Juan, for joining us and to talk a little bit about innovation and then some exciting things that we may see coming up in longevity and healthy aging in the pet food industry. And I'm sure we would welcome you to come back to only talk about that for 30 more minutes, so we can really go in more depth about longevity and health aging. But before I let you go, I'd like to ask two more questions, not related to pet food specifically.
Yeah.
The first one is, you said you've been in the industry for a while, and you did not change. You didn't choose to be in a different industry. So what is the most exciting thing about working in the pet food industry for you, and why do you like it?
I think the most exciting is because there's a few things. And what I can see is that what we do to enhance the well-being of our companion animals, we can also use to enhance the well-being of people, because they're, particularly with dogs, because dogs and humans have we have a pretty similarity in terms of how we age, how we behave, etc. So if we do something that is good for a dog in the terms of nutrition or impacting the microbiome, we can also apply it to our own lifestyle. That's one area because you could see those things. But the other part in the industry itself is the people. And as I say, and I've even in different companies that I have been associated with, I think the most important value of a company is its people, because the people is what's going to make that company or that organization great. And that's what makes our industry great, is the people that we have, because we're always striving to get better, always trying to do better, and that's what really excites me, and that's what I've decided to continue doing what I'm doing, because that's basically what motivates me to follow this path.
And the last question is, do you have any advice for students or newcomers on the industry on how to succeed in the field?
Okay, so one of the things is for students, always, they need to be thinking ahead, and, take every piece of information, even if it doesn't have an application for what they're currently doing, just learn about it, and then to pursue their dreams, because that's also part of the human side. What's your dream and how you can get there, and talk to people, listen to your advisors, look for somebody that can mentor you to a degree, and typically the mentor can be somebody from your organization or from your university, or could be from another area as well. And I know, and you probably have gone through the same thing, Julia, pursuing grad studies. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be challenges, and sometimes you think, "Oh my God, do I have to continue doing this, or should I just do?" Yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind also, and this will happen also in once you finish, is your advisor will actually push you, and sometimes don't take it wrong, because what the advisor wants for you is for you to be better, and because the advisor is seeing in you that you can do much better, that you have a lot of potential. And I think that's my advice. I mean, I can remember, because I've had a lot of, well, not a lot. I have, my first degree, my master's degree. I had advisors that actually were pushing me all the time, and I say, "Oh my God," you get that feeling. But I think that's just listen, and go for your dream, go for your goals.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think mentee and mentor is also is like parent relationship, parents and kids, because your parents usually push you well, but they care about you.
Yeah,
So it's about caring about the people on your team, but then pushing them to become the best version of themselves, but not forgetting the human being behind it. So,
yeah,
but
exactly.
when you're being pushed, you don't like that, but then once you finish and then you see how much you grew, you for sure appreciate someone who knew you could reach the potential and then invested the time on you. So that's always very good also for me to see people growing and students changing over time. And
Exactly.
so thank you very much, Juan, for joining us today. And I really hope you come back to talk with us a little bit more about longevity and healthy aging. And I'm excited to see how we see that changing our industry in the next 5, 10, or even more years. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Julia. Appreciate it, and looking forward to be invited again to another episode of your program. Thank you very much.